Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm very honored to have this opportunity to share some experience about how to make cost estimation for high-speed railway during FEED. Before my presentation, I would like to take a little bit time to make a brief introduction of our company. China Railway Electrification Bureau Group. It has a very long history since it was founded in the year as early as 1958, and it is a big company with employees of more than 10,000 and with an annual turnover in the recent years around 6 billion US dollars. It is very competitive in the field of rail transit, since it is capable of doing the design, construction, installation, and maintenance of rail transit projects. And it has also, therefore, it has rich experience both in China and outside of China. In China, it has participated more than 70% of railway and high-speed railway projects, and more than 60% of urban transit projects. And its overseas experience include Jakarta to Bandung high-speed railway as electrification subcontractor, and Hungary Serbia railway upgrade project as member of EPC contractor consortium, and the light rail transit red line in Tel Aviv as a leading party of contractor JV, and many other experiences in Southeast Asia, Middle East, Southern Asia, etc. And as for myself, I have been working for EEB for more than 30 years. Now I'm working for this company as consultant, and before I have been working for it as Chief Economic Officer for 7 years, and as Marketing Director for 4 years. So I also have some experiences of overseas projects in the field of rail transit. So the major contents of my presentation includes 5 parts. Let me begin with the first part, purpose of FEED. The purpose of FEED include establishing realistic budget to ensure the economic and technical feasibility of the project, as to provide basis for the detailed design and construction approach later on. The purpose also includes to secure stakeholder confidence, not only the confidence from the government, from whom the approval of the project shall be obtained, and also the confidence from investors to attract their investment. The purpose also includes aligning with national goals by integrating the project development objectives, and by ensuring high-speed railway not only technically viable, but also carrying substantial socio-economic significance.
Hello, Mr. Gan. Can you check? We don't know why, but we cannot see your change of your screen. We are still looking at the first line, not
Okay, I don't know why maybe I change the mode. I just can you see the page turn now?
I can
Right now?
yes,
Can you
now
see?
better. Yes, now we
Okay,
can see you
so I changed this mode. Okay. So and before the cost estimation, we should define the scope and the technical parameters with route selection and capacity determination by analyzing terrain and population density, because the geological conditions will have big effect on the cost. It will determine the quantity of soft soil treatment, length of tunnel, land acquisition requirement. So it will have big effect on the cost. For this part, we need to do some comparison to find a better solution. For example, the comparison between the approach of elevated route with bigger cost on viaduct to the approach of at-grade route with more land acquisition and bigger land use cost. And also we need to analyze the population density and the passenger volume to determine the position of the stations, the scale of stations, and the number of tracks. So for this part, we come to the conclusion that the survey for the conditions along the whole line is very important. Sorry. Also, technical standards and adaptation design will be preconditions for cost estimation. As for the adaptation design, we need to do some adaptation to local conditions. Regarding to the Vietnam high-speed railway, we may need to do some seismic design, because Vietnam is on the seismic belt, and also we need to do some tropic climate adaptation design to ensure good performance of the project. In addition, the selection of technical standard is very important to ensure a long-term viability, as we know that Vietnam has no experience of high-speed railway yet. Then international countries is necessary. For this part, I would like to emphasize that long-term planning should be taken into consideration, and a unified standard is very important to minimize the maintenance cost, not only for the project we are talking about right now, but also for the project in the future. And also we need to think about the future network planning. Maybe it is to be planned to some Chinese railway, like China Lao Railway or China Thailand Railway. So then the standards should be considered carefully. And then for this part, we come to a conclusion that study for the lateral, social and economic conditions and the rail network planning is very important. So the first step for the cost estimation would be the breakdown of cost components. The biggest part of the costs for the high-speed railway will be the track and the civil works, which include the cost of rail system, tunnel, viaduct, and bridges. As we mentioned before, this part is significantly dependent on geological condition, soil condition, and route selection. We should pay attention to these conditions. And also for the infrastructure costs, we need to define the stations. We need to the infrastructure costs shall also include the cost for stations and the depots, of which the capacity and positions will be determined by the passenger volume and the proposed maintenance capacity. And also this part includes power supply system. For this part, we need to take into consideration the mode of power supply and the mode of catenary. Rolling stock and systems is also a big part of the cost of a high-speed railway project. First, we need to think about the transit costs. For the transits, the design must be Vietnam climatic adaptive. This is similar to what have been done for Jakarta to Bandung high-speed railway. And for signaling control systems, future planning shall be taken into consideration because for this system is very crucial for the whole project. Then a unified standard will be important because the signaling and control systems with different standards will not be easy to be integrated together. So I would like to emphasize again, unified standard should be considered. And the communication system is also very important because there are many subsystems to be created with this communication system, such as automatic fare collection system, CCTV, passenger information, and the public address and the clock system. Then land acquisition and resettlement cost will also be a big part of the cost of project. It includes compulsory land purchase, resettlement, land use conversion. And for this part, legal compliance is very important. Then Vietnam's Land Law 2023 and the local compensation pricing regulations in each province along the whole line will be shall be understood to minimize social impact. Contingency and risk reserves shall be made to cover inflation in Vietnam and to cover the fluctuation between currency, fluctuation of exchange rate between the currency in Vietnam and the currency of other countries where some equipment and machine from. And the reserves shall also cover unforeseeable geological conditions and to keep the project financially resilient. Of course, professional services are necessary for the project, include consultancy service to do feasibility studies, design engineering, and construction supervision, and to get regulatory approvals to ensure the compliance of the project. So this professional service and experienced consultant is very important to make a scientific and professional planning for the design and supervision, as well as risk control, to minimize the cost and ensure the smooth implementation of the project. And when the budget of the project is not covered by the budget of the government, then financing fees is necessary, which will be dependent on the procurement strategy. If EPC contract is selected, then the owner will be responsible for the financing. And in this case, financing fees include interest rate and the financing service charge. If EPC+F mode is selected, then the contractor might be responsible for the financing, but most likely the owner will be the borrower. In this case, the financing fees also include interest rate and the service charge. And if PPP mode is selected, then the special purpose project company will be responsible for funding. In this case, the financing fees not only include interest rate and the financing service charge, but also include the expected return on capital gains of project company. Of course, it is dependent on the payback mode for the time limit. I'm not going into the detail of this part. Of course, the cost of the project also include VAT, custom duty, and environmental cost. Now, let's come to methodology of cost estimation during FEED. As we know that in this stage, many factors are not very clear, so we can do this relatively rough. The first methodology I would like to introduce is parametric estimating. With this method, historical data will be used, including local applicable data and overseas data that is not locally applicable. And also to do a relative accurate estimation, then adaptation to local conditions shall be considered. Also, to ensure accuracy, necessary adjustment shall be made based on the inflation and exchange rate. Now, what we are looking at is the steps of doing parametric estimating. The step one is to select key parameters. What are highlighted in red color is the example I would like to take. For example, the mountain surcharge, environmental mitigation, and system complexity. And we allocate some, we make some adjustment factor for these parameters. For example, for mountain surcharge, we make the adjustment factor of 220%. And for the step two, we build a parametric model in the form of a formula, as we can say, what have been highlighted in gray color. And then step three, we shall do some cross-validation with global benchmarks. And we can also do analogous estimate similar projects as benchmark, like Jakarta to Bandung high-speed railway. And then we make some adjustment with the experience and the lessons learned from this benchmark project. For example, we have a very good experience to be learned from Jakarta to Bandung high-speed railway related to contract mode. For this project, the contract is divided into two parts, onshore part and offshore part. For the offshore part, the custom clearance for all the imported equipment and machinery will be the responsibility of the owner to reduce the duration for the process. And also, the owner will be responsible for the approval of free of charge of VAT and customer duty for all the imported equipment and material and machinery for this project. And this significantly reduced the cost of the project. And of course, there is some lesson to be learned from Jakarta and to Bandung high-speed railway. For example, the delay of land acquisition is one of the major factors to cause the cost overrun. Due to the time limit, I only take out some parts of the cost as example. If you are interested, we can communicate further by email. And at the end, I would like to say something about the best practices for Vietnam. First is the early engagement of stakeholders, including professional consultant. As we mentioned before, a very experienced and professional consultant is very important because it is able to make a realistic technical and economic approach for the project, and also it can make an early identification and control of potential risks. Also, it is very important to get construction contractor to be involved early, because the construction contractors' expertise can be made use of in the project planning to reach an efficient integration of design and construction approach and an efficient approach of the interface between construction and maintenance. Also, as we mentioned before, that actually the delay of the land acquisition is not only the cost overrun for the project of Jakarta to Bandung project, but also for other projects in many other countries. So it is also very important to get early involvement of provinces along the railway line and the communities to shorten the land acquisition duration and mitigate potential cost overrun due to delay of land acquisition. Sorry. So also, I think localization is very helpful for the cost reduction by promoting domestic manufacturing and enhancing local industry. And localization is also very helpful to reduce contingency cost for the coverage of inflation risk and rate fluctuation risk. Also, procurement strategies and contract form will be helpful for the risk allocation and for the cost reduction, since there will be other experts to share their experiences in this aspect. I'm not going to go into detail for this part. And of course, green technologies will be very helpful for the sustainability and the life cycle costs for the project. So this is all for my presentation. Thank you all for your time and attention.